heart of Washington, D.C., a bold step was taken towards Africa's vision of peace, unity, and prosperity. The African Union Peace Fund and the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, have signed a landmark grant agreement, a historic alliance rooted in the belief that peace is the foundation for development and that prosperity cannot thrive without stability. Speaking at the ceremony, His Excellency Professor Benedict Okey Oramah, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afreximbank, underscored a profound truth. He argued that a closed border of any country in Africa is a business loss. His words echo a powerful message that Africa's future depends on openness, collaboration, and collective action. With this agreement, vital financial resources will now flow into conflict prevention, peace building, and capacity development programs across the continent, turning ambition into action. This partnership brings together the AU's proven leadership in peace and stability with Afreximbank's unmatched financial acumen. Together, they are charting a new path aligned with Agenda 2063 to deliver Africa's solution to African challenges.
It is with great pleasure that I speak to you today on the launch of a very crucial instrument for the transformation of Africa. I would like to thank the African Union Peace Fund for working with Afreximbank to put this all together and for the opportunity to deliver remarks today. Through this event, we demonstrate our shared commitment to ensuring that peace and security in Africa exists. We demonstrate that it is a critical element that is required for the continent to meet its developmental aspirations and the ambitions of Agenda 2063 and the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. Indeed, when African leaders adopted the AfCFTA, they envisioned more than a trade agreement. They envisioned the continental transformation, a single market of more than 1.4 billion people that will provide a platform for industrialization, job creation, revitalize continental value chains, and shared prosperity. The AfCFTA represents Africa's determination to trade more with itself, to retain more value within its borders, and to build resilience through the emergence and strengthening of regional value chains. But this promise rests squarely on a crucial foundation: peace and security. Without peace, trade routes close. Without stability, investors hesitate and some flee. Without security, cross-border value chains decouple. Today, Africa's trading environment and integration efforts face mounting challenges caused by insecurity in some places. Armed conflicts in parts of the Sahel, Sudan, and the Horn of Africa have displaced millions of fragmented trade corridors.
It also signals a growing commitment from the private sector and philanthropic community, essential pillars in building a resilient and self-reliant Africa. Among the distinguished leaders present, Mr. Tariq bin Yusuf, Charge d'Affaires, AU Permanent Mission in Washington, D.C., Mrs. Dagmawit Moges, Director, African Union Peace Fund, Her Excellency Kanayo Awani, Executive Director, Intra-Africa Trade, and a Vice President at Afreximbank, Mr. Tony Elumelu, Chairman, United Bank for Africa, and Founder Elumelu Foundation, Councillor Khalidu Gadio, and Dr. Stephen Karingi of the United Nations, leaders from the diplomatic community in Washington, D.C., and African diaspora leadership in Washington, D.C. Each echo a vital voice in shaping this new chapter.
Your Excellency, Professor Benedict Oramah, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of the African Union of the African Export and Import Bank, Your Excellency, Dr. George, the incoming President, Your Excellency, Councillor Khalidu Gadio, Co-Chair, U.S. Africa Practice, DLA Piper, and member of the African Union Peace Fund Board of Trustees, representing the northern region of our continent, Your Excellency, Dr. Stephen, Director for Macroeconomic Finance and Governance of UNECA, a good friend and a very good supporter. Thank you so much for coming. Your Excellency, Mr. Tony Elumelu, Chairman of the United Bank of Africa. I've been told that he's on his way and he's going to join us soon. And our charge d'affaires, Mr. Tariq, had it not been your support, this platform would have been in a big challenge. And thank you so much for your support, as always. Dear partners, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol observed, again, good afternoon. It's a great honor to welcome you to this high-level side event on the margins of the World Bank and IMF annual meetings. I extend my warm appreciation to our co-organizer, Afreximbank, and to all of you who shared the conviction that peace is both our greatest aspiration and our most urgent responsibility. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Africa is a continent of remarkable diversity and immense potential. With more than 5 dozen member states, a population exceeding 1.4 billion, and a wealth of cultural and natural resources, Africa is undergoing a profound transformation. The African Union, as the continent's premier institution, was established to enhance economic integration, peace, and development, guided by Agenda 2063, the Africa that we all want. Yet, despite these aspirations, our continent continues to grapple with complex and interconnected challenges. Internal and cross-border conflicts persist. Climate change intensifies, and competition over scarce resources. Displacement and contest over natural wealth, coupled with a resurgence of unconstitutional change of government, erode governance and social cohesion. This challenge demands coordinated solutions grounded in sustainability and as well as accountability. It is against this backdrop that the African Union established the Peace Fund, an innovative and strategic mechanism focused primarily on conflict prevention, which is a tool conceived and led by Africa to address African problems. The Peace Fund Secretariat is specifically mandated to mobilize and manage resources to ensure the availability of adequate, predictable, and sustainable financing for peace-related activities across our continent. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in a world where global financing for peace, development, and other sectors is in decline and competition of resources is increasing, engaging in an innovative resource mobilization efforts have never been more critical. We are witnessing a clear shift in the global financing landscape. The traditional sources of funding, bilateral support, and other multilateral contributions are shrinking, or they are becoming very less predictable. This is why the African Union Peace Fund is putting innovative and robust financing strategies at the heart of our approach. We are actively exploring new finance models and strategic partnerships across a wide spectrum of stakeholders. This includes the private sector, state-owned enterprises, multilateral corporations, multilateral financial institutions, foundations, and citizens of our continent, and of course, our vibrant diaspora as well. We believe that peace cannot remain the sole responsibility of member states. It must be underpinned for strategic, diversified, and sustainable investment. For this to happen, innovative financing is no longer optional. It is essential. Without it, we risk losing opportunity to prevent conflict before it escalates. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the African Union Peace Fund stands today with a balance exceeding 410 million USD, and we have already secured our policy organs approval to raise our disbursement up to 34 million to peace initiatives that are existent across our continent.
Priceless. Your support, Professor Benedict Okey has been for this mission. Please join me in paying this tribute, because without the support of Afreximbank and Mr. Dr. Elumelu, our acting president, I'm conveying the message to you. Without the support of Afreximbank, and I mean we would not have been able to advance Africa's priorities in trade and investment, in diaspora engagement, and in cultural diplomacy. And thanks to my colleagues here, member of the mission, we have transformed this mission to a gallery, and where culture has been at the heart of Georgetown. And just 2 weeks ago, in fact, we had a huge festival. And with your support, we managed to open the mission on a Friday, the US Congress, as well as with multilateral institutions and stakeholders in the United States. The mission plays a critical role in this regard in policy advocacy, knowledge sharing, and coordinating common African position among AU member states, particularly on US-Africa relations. In doing so, it seeks to amplify Africa's voice and agency in the United States. The Peace Fund has become a key instrument in bridging the financing gap for peace and security in our country. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for what you are doing with your team to advance the agenda of peace and security and the nexus between peace and security and development in the continent. My dear sister, the floor is yours.
Mr. Elumelu, this is an important initiative, and let me just explain why you should trust what the AU Peace Fund is doing, how it is structured, so that you can understand the governance of the Peace Fund itself, give you confidence that your money is used for the purpose for which it was given. You know, the Peace Fund actually was created back in 1993. And, but in its current form, it was revised and adopted by the African Union in 2018. And it is about 5 pillars. And let me just list them and then I'll explain some of them. That's very important. The first one is the Peace and Security Council. We have a panel of the wise, Continental Early Warning System, African Standby Force, and the Peace Fund.
This instrument that is actually going to look at the nexus between trade, development, peace and security. I think there is no greater way of building the legacy for this part. So I really want to thank you because I heard you say it and I've seen the vision. I think, Tony, we have followed the work you've been doing with the young people, so we thank you for that. And I think also for the African Union Commission led by my sister, Ms. Dagmawit Moges. She worked in infrastructure, and I think there is no better person actually to be leading this. But now to come to the question that you have asked, I think all of us agree that, and I think Tony, the president, you have mentioned this. Actually, the degrees of freedom for the continent in terms of public sector resources or resources from ODA, that now has shrunk. And not just, the space is very small. Also, I think it's a high time we stopped even talking about the ODA. I know I'm in the African Union, and I also work for the United Nations. We have an agreement about 0.7% of GDP. But from where I see, I think it's a high time we started looking away from this 0.7% and the ODA. This is where innovative finance comes in because we know our taxes are not enough, but we need the private sector to come in and fill the gap. And I think this initiative, what we are seeing now, is actually a demonstration that it is possible to have the United Bank of Africa, Afreximbank, basically leading the way for other private sector institutions to come.
Prof. Oramah, you said something I thought was so profound, and I wrote it down, and I want to start my remarks with that. He said, to you at Afrexim, any closed border is a lost business opportunity. Very profound, so true. And that is why we're here, and that is why we commend what the AU, under your capable leadership, have achieved and continue to achieve, the AU Peace Fund. When, I think 2 years back, they came to my office in Lagos, Nigeria, I was so impressed because, first, as a person, I've often said that in the 21st century, Africans, we should stop any sense or feeling of entitlement. I call it dropping entitlement mentality. 2, that no one but us will develop our continent, Africa. And thirdly, peace is pivotal, is critical, is foundational to economic transformation, economic progress, and economic development. What the AU Peace Fund is doing is unique. It requires the support of each and every one of us, especially in an era that we call era of the philosophy of private capitalism, which is not an obligation per se, but a call, an expectation of the private sector to play some critical role in developing our continent through investments. The investment we make in peace is a lasting investment in developing truly and sustainably our continent. To us, at United Bank for Africa, it was not difficult deciding to be part of this noble aspiration. We wish we could do more, and we know we will do more. What we have done today is just a tip of what we would like to do. Because, as Prof. Oramah said, and as we all know, once there's no peace, you cannot do business. The investment we make in the AU Peace Fund is investment in our future markets, is investment in our people, is investment in our businesses. And we owe it to the AU. Some of us have criticized AU in the past that we have done or gone through the phase of political independence, and now it's about economic independence. What you guys are doing is heeding to our call, helping to create the foundation that leads to sustainable economic progress, because it starts with peace. And for us as a group, beyond what we do or what we have done to support this initiative, we, through the Tony Elumelu Foundation, today have supported over 24,000 young African men and women by providing them non-refundable seed capital of $5,000 each. So we spent close to $120 million on them across all 55 African countries. It is our own way again of helping to create peace in the African continent. Someone who has economic opportunity, economic hope, will rather embrace peace. And so I like to see all of us on the continent working together, the private sector, the leading institutions, development institutions on the continent, and what Professor Oramah and Afreximbank and the leadership have done is you can't quantify it. You can't quantify it because what they've done, we have joined because we see Afreximbank as part of it. And we hope. So what they've done is catalytic, it's impactful. We hope that through joint efforts like this, Afreximbank, United Bank for Africa, the Tony Elumelu Foundation, and others, we can catalyze a movement that's even beyond the AU Peace Fund. A movement that makes all of us realize that poverty anywhere is a threat to all of us everywhere, and that we need to work together to make sure that the environment is conducive to all and for all. And that cannot happen if we do not have peace. So I want to also use this opportunity in echoing the words of Professor Oramah to call on every business on the African continent to show interest in this. I know they've raised about $400 million, but we can do much more. We can do more. In fact, we are launching tomorrow the UBA white paper. And this white paper, and by the way, I invite you all to the World Bank premises to join the launch tomorrow. The white paper exposure shows that on the African continent, estimated over $4 trillion untapped domestic resources. We can't tap it if we don't have peace. We all need to work together to tap it so that we can have more money and more resources to catalyze and develop and drive economic development for our people. And of this $400 million that I'm saying AU Peace Fund has launched, I think only about 2%. Okay, with what Afreximbank is doing now, it's more than 2%. But if Afreximbank is an institution, so we say public sector, Afreximbank sector, and private sector. So the other private sector is just about 2%. It's not good. So let me use platform and opportunity to say to other African businesses and friends of Africa or people who do business in Africa, let's come together to support the AU Peace Fund so that there'll be more peace, stability on the African continent. Thank you so much for what you guys have done.
This is more than a grant agreement. It is a message to the world that Africa is ready ready to finance its own peace, own its future, and build a continent where unity, trade, and transformation are not dreams but realities. The African Union Peace Fund and Afreximbank partnering for peace, prosperity, and a united Africa. You are watching Cabs World TV from Washington, D.C.